My entitled mom wants me to pay my creep step brother's student debt by user money photograph 4176. I, 29, have an older stepbrother, Chris, 42, who's been a nightmare since the day my mom married his dad. Let me give a bit of background. Our parents married when I was 4 and he was 17. Both our parents were widowed. After their wedding, we moved to the U.S. since my mom had American citizenship through marriage. I was born in the U.S. too, but after my dad died when I was 1, my mom and I moved back to Colombia. Step-dad got his residency through marriage and my stepbrother because he was a minor. My stepbrother wasn't a big fan of me. My only memories of him are just constant bullying. He would be left in charge of me since he was studying locally and lived with my parents, but mostly his babysitting really meant things like locking me in the guest bathroom or the shed outside. He would steal my lunchbox whenever he was the one who dropped me off at school. He even began to harm my pets. I have an old cat that has been with me for almost 22 years. He tried more than once to run her over with his car. My parents never believed any of it. He's the classic golden child. My mom absolutely wanted a son instead of a daughter, so my stepbrother took priority over me. The bullying just kept getting worse and creepier.
He had this long key for the bathroom. The door was designed in case it got locked by accident. One could open them by inserting a long stick or key through a small hole on the outside.
He would use it to walk in on me showering. My underwear would disappear sometimes, and I know for a fact it was him. He also started taking pictures of me sleeping. One night, I woke up to him taking care of himself next to me while I slept. I yelled, obviously. My parents came over, but he wasn't in trouble. I was protecting him. I was 14 when this happened. He was 27. But no one helped me, and he got bolder until he did something I'm still in therapy for when I was 16. It got to a point where I called my biological half-older brother, Sam, 48, and son of my biological father's first wife, to see if I could live with him and his wife, Sandy, during my last 2 years of high school. When Sam found out what was going on, he confronted my mom. My mom didn't care and just told him to take me so long he never asked her for money. Done and done. My brother and his wife became my legal guardians and took me in with my cat and the old family dog since I didn't trust leaving any living creature with Chris around. My parents never checked on me. My extended family from my father's side knew what happened, and they immediately got together to ensure I could finish school well and go to college. I don't know my maternal family at all, but thanks to my paternal family, including Sam's mother and her family, I got my bachelor's and master's, no student debt, and work as a nurse practitioner. I still live with Sam, his wife, and their 2 kids, and I pay a small rent. Neither Sam nor his wife expected me to pay anything, but that's the least I can do for the 2 people who have taken care of me for 13 years. For anyone wondering why I didn't move, it's incredibly expensive where I live, and Sam insisted I stay with them until I save enough to buy my own home. Things seemed okay until my mom messaged me recently. She had not messaged me since I was 18 when she told me she no longer had any responsibility to me.
In this message, she sounded overly friendly, telling me how she missed me and asking how I was doing.
I was a bit creeped out, but decided to be nice, telling her about what I had done since leaving her care. She seemed very interested, since apparently she knew I was a nurse, but not what kind I was. She began asking me about my salary. I didn't tell her anything about it, but that it was enough to pay the bills. My mom then began texting about Chris and how he was barely making any money due to his student debt. Apparently, Chris never finished a degree, jumping from career to career. He's now working in my stepdad's used cars business as a salesman, but most of his pay went to pay the substantial student debt he got over the year. I told my mom how sorry I was that Chris was having a hard time and wished him luck. That's when my mom finally got to what she wanted. She texted me I needed to pay his student debt so he could finally begin to make the money he deserves like the man of the family. I just turned off my phone. When I got home, Sam was surprised since I was usually the last to arrive. Sandy wasn't home yet. I told Sam what happened and showed him my mom's text messages. I don't think I've seen Sam this angry ever. He told me to block my mom, stepdad, and Chris if I had not done so yet. After talking with Sam and Sandy, I called my boss to ask the next day and the one after off. This gave me a 4-day weekend, including the days I'm normally off shift. My boss was more than okay with this and told me to just take it easy and let her know if she could help. This backfired because the next day my mom and Chris decided to come to Sam's house to speak to me. I was alone since Sam and Sandy were at work and the kids were at school. I immediately called Sam and told him what was going on. He told me not to open the door and that he was on his way. My mom spent the whole time screaming that I owed them for raising me and that my sweet brother deserved the money. Chris was going around trying to find a window or door unlocked. There wasn't any since the windows have safety bars and the only other door is in the closed garage and one in the yard. The yard one was locked, and just in case, I locked the one in the garage. I won't post what he called me when he saw me from one of the windows, but basically he pretty much told me they should have thrown me away when I was a baby since I grew to be He pounded in one of the windows so hard, he actually cracked the glass. Eventually, he gave up and went back to the front door, clearly trying to kick it down. I didn't have anything to worry about. The door was a security door, but I was still very scared. Between yelling, threatening, pleading, and insults, I finally heard Sam screaming to them to get lost. I only saw things from the window. Sam pretty much dragged them both off the porch. They got to a point I couldn't hear, but I saw my mom and Chris pale and look scared before they pretty much ran to their car and drove off way past the legal speed limit. Sam came in a bit after and immediately went full overprotective brother mode, asking me if I was okay. He kept saying sorry and hugging me. Sandy arrived almost immediately after, and she looked like she was about to commit a felony. Apparently, Sam threatened him with filing charges for what he did to me when I was 16. My brother's ace. My stepdad was willing to testify against his own son. That seemed enough to get Chris off our backs, but not my mom. Since then, it's been 3 days, and my mom has sent texts, called nonstop with various numbers, and rallied a group of people who are supposedly my maternal family to harass me for money. She claims that money should legally be hers since she's my mother, that it's my late father's missed child support. Sam is helping me find a lawyer to get a restraining order on my mom, and I plan to take my step. Dad's offered to testify by pressing charges against Chris. I can't say I can forgive him for not stopping his son, but I appreciate he's at least trying. I don't know the details, but Chris did something to a relative of his dad, and since then, they had a really bad fallout. I took my boss offer and will be on vacation for a few more days. But here it is. My vacation days are getting eaten up, and my therapist might need a therapist after. Thankfully, my dark sense of humor and supportive paternal family are keeping me somewhat sane. My entitled mom wants me to pay my creep step. Brother's student debt update. My user money photograph 4,176. I didn't think I would be making an update so soon, but my mother is unrelenting. To the people that were so kind and gave me advice earlier, thank you so much. It really helps to have people show kindness in difficult days. I follow with the advice to freeze my credit, and I will be getting a new phone for personal use. We'll have to keep my old phone for work for a little. Now, to update on the situation. We are going through with pressing charges and might do a civil lawsuit for 2 years of child support my mother owns. We are not sure yet of our chances on it, but my brother Sam wants to go scorch earth. As for my mother, she began a new campaign. She's been posting about me false accusing my stepbrother, Chris of say. She's been accusing me of being a temptress that tried for years to sleep with my brother, and even got a few relatives, who I just found out are my aunts, to join in saying they were witnesses. I never met these women in my life. My stepfather actually commented in her post saying my mom was lying and accusing his own son of being a padoptito. That's how I found out what was the big fallout between them. Stepbrother went after one of stepfather's nieces. I don't know the girl's age, but she has to be about my age if I'm thinking of the right person. If not, she's younger than me. A lot of my biological father's relatives have also gone into social media to call out my mother, saying she had always claimed she was an orphan and had no family, while now she has 3 sisters. It's a mess. I'm just watching for now and being a stay at home. My nephews love it since we go out after they finish homework for crazy shenanigans. My boss has helped me with some paperwork for leave of absence, and I should be off for about 6 weeks. After I'll be mostly working from home for a few weeks. Not the greatest update, and to be sincere, things are not fun. But it's nice to spend time with the kiddos at least. Also, forgot this. No, my mom is not likely sleeping or in a relationship with my stepbrother. Some people had mentioned this. My mom always wanted a son. I was a disappointment because I was born a girl. She treats my brother like he's her real son, and I think she truly loves him as a mother. She made sure to tell me how disappointing it was for her when I was born. A final update on my in-laws and their family naming tradition. By user throwaway Babby name original. First update. Second update. Hey everyone. It's been a while. I hope you guys had a great Mother's Day. I remember that last year, I promised myself I'd write a final update as soon as I felt calmer or felt the situation was closer to being solved.
That actually happened months ago, but I've been busy lately.
Following my previous update, my fiance's side of the family remained upset about the tradition being over for a few more months. They were way less intense about it, especially with the pregnant cousin I mentioned, but it was still evident. That cousin's not Peter. Almost a year later, I still can't think of a better term, was born in January. Our son turned 1 the next month. I think the fact that these two things happened so close together helped many of my in-laws let go of the tradition. We got a few apologies we weren't expecting. Some of them were sincere enough that we slowly started reestablishing contact. My fiance's parents were not among those who apologized. We haven't spoken to either of them since last July. From what I've heard from some of his other relatives, however, Mills seems regretful. She has told some of them that she wishes she could be part of her grandson's life, and wonders if making his name a hill to die on was a bad decision. File, from what I gather, barely acknowledges my baby exists. My fiancé knows about how his mother feels, but he says he doesn't care. And even if we did get an apology, I don't think either of us can forgive his parents. As much as we're mostly okay now, it sometimes feels like their treatment of our family ruined the first few months of our baby's life. I know that's not actually true, but I don't want them around my child. Besides all that, things have been great. My son is 15 months old now, which I don't think I'll ever really get used to. He recently started drawing and has been expanding his vocabulary. He's at only first, by the way. My fiancé and I are still getting married in September. We're thinking about moving abroad in a couple years for work reasons, but we're not sure yet. We also recently got a dog. Sadly, we didn't name him Peter. This will be my final update. Whatever guilt I had about this situation a year ago is completely gone, and my life has been peaceful enough that it feels safe to say the shit show is over. Hugo, if you ever find this, you are the most fantastic thing that has ever happened to us. Thank you for letting me be your mom. Thank you, Reddit, for all the love, advice, and support you've given me this past year. Karma hits. My father called complaining about my brother about something he used to do to me. By user tit4tatone101. Several years ago, I lived with my father because housing market sucks, and I worked a pretty demanding job. When I was done, the last thing I wanted to do was cook. Well, when I'd often get off a shift, I'd come home to find that my day ate my dinner, or I'd go to grab my lunch, only to find that he'd eaten that. No matter how many times I'd tell him to stop, he still wouldn't. Despite the fact that I never touched his food, what made me even more frustrated is that he would complain about the money I'd waste when I ordered food, despite me saying over and over that I would have food if you didn't eat it. And well, the other day he called me complaining that Tim, my brother, came home from his military tour and is now doing the exact same thing to my dad. I was like, that's crazy. It's like he doesn't respect nor care about the fact that you work a full-time job, and at the end of the day, all you want to do is just relax, eat, and go to bed. The sarcasm was lost to my father, but the irony still has me giggling. This park is for young people. You can't be here. By user RainCactus2763. The context. I'm not at a traditional school, I'm autistic, and I go to a special needs school with a class of only about 3 people. There's a playground park near my school that the teachers often take us to for a break if we complete all the work we were meant to do. Today at school, the teachers took me, 16, and my friends, who we'll call 13, and B, 14, to the park. We had some snacks and drinks, so after we went on the tire swing, we went to a climbing frame that there were almost never kids on. And even if there were, they didn't mind us being there, and we moved if we were in their way, and sat and talked while we ate them. A woman who was likely in her 60s walked over to us, and this conversation happened. Woman, excuse me, why are you sitting here and stopping kids from playing? B, apologizing a lot will move. Woman, are you guys in school or college? We're in school. Woman, why are you at school? They take us here for breaks. We got up and went to sit on the benches near the park to finish our snacks. It takes a while for me to process things, and by that point, I'd fully processed the whole situation. I have past trauma related to similar situations, so I was scared and upset. While A and B tried to comfort me, we decided to go and play on the swings for a bit. After that, we wanted to go on the tire swing again, but the woman was sitting on the bench next to it. The teachers went with us, and despite me being nervous, we played on the tire swing for a bit. I ended up very scared when the woman walked over to us again and started saying something about us not being supposed to be there. So B walked over to the woman while it hugged me to try and help me stay calm. The teachers and B told the woman to leave us alone, but she said this park is for young people, you can't be here. One of my teachers told her that it didn't say anything about age at the park, and the woman gave up and left.